everybody, welcome to Economist. So a couple weeks ago, I bought what I believe is the cheapest boosted board on eBay that is still in good working condition. Here it is. This is a V1 boosted board that I bought on eBay for $500. I won the auction. It started at like $450 or something like that, and then I won the auction at about $500. And I'm super excited to share this thing with you because I believe it is the first all-electric vehicle that I've ever reviewed on this channel. Now, having said that, this video isn't going to be like a full review yet. This is just kind of my first impressions since I've only had it for a couple weeks and I've only been able to drive it about once a day because it's part of my commute. Yes, part of my inspiration for buying a boosted board was Casey Neistat. There's no denying that. I don't know anybody who bought a boosted board in the last like 4 years who wasn't in part inspired by Casey Neistat videos. Having said that, it actually does kind of make sense for my commute since I have to go from my apartment building all the way to a parking garage now that I've moved back to my favorite city, Ann Arbor, and I'm living downtown, and it's much more affordable for me to park a few blocks away and then ride a boosted board between those two locations than it is to park directly in front of my building. Plus, they just looked like so much fun that I couldn't resist it when I saw that there might be a chance for me to buy one for like less than $700, which is kind of what the typical boosted board goes for on eBay, even on the used market. I mean, new they're like $1,500, so this is like a third of the price. So I apologize in advance for the audio of this video because I'm actually in Chicago. I don't have any of my normal equipment with me. But this is just a first impressions video that I wanted to get out there as soon as possible, and then I'll have a more full in-depth review of this thing a little bit later. So enough with the preamble, let's just get into my very first impressions of this boosted board that I bought for $500. First of all, you should know that it has 300 miles on the odometer already. That's when it came, and it probably has about 320 on it now. I've done a decent amount of riding in the past 2 weeks, and I've just been loving it. So anyways, let's get into the first impressions. The first thing I noticed when the board showed up is that it's bigger than it looks like in photos and in video. Now, one of the reasons I went with a boosted board as opposed to a scooter or something like that is that it had to fit in the back of my Porsche Cayman. Luckily, the boosted board is just the right size to fit perfectly in the back trunk of my Porsche Cayman. So while it is big, it's not too big to fit in the back. I even bought a backpack bag, and if you put it in the backpack bag, it'll still fit in the back, but only just. Obviously, I watched a lot of boosted board videos before I bought my own, and all the videos talk about how fast it is. So I was expecting it to be pretty quick right off the bat. And even though my expectations were set, I still wasn't quite prepared for how quick this thing is. I started out on beginner mode, which is like the turtle mode in the app, and it felt pretty good. It felt quick, it accelerated nicely, but it wasn't too crazy. Once I got more comfortable riding in beginner mode, I graduated myself to eco mode. And the first time I rode in eco mode, the thing almost slipped out right from under me and had me, and I almost fell because the acceleration was so hard, even just in eco mode. I haven't even touched the higher speed modes yet because, quite frankly, I'm a little bit scared of what's gonna happen. Beginner mode limits you to 11 miles per hour, which is a good amount of speed. I rarely wanna go faster than that. Eco mode gets you up to 16 miles an hour, which is a very fast speed. There's very few cases where I felt like I wanted to go faster than 16 miles an hour. It's really only on wide open, smooth roads with no gravel and kind of perfect conditions that I would feel comfortable going any faster than 16 miles per hour. However, since this is the V1, it can go up to, I think the listed speed is 18 miles an hour, but they can go like 20 if you're going downhill or something like that. So I'm not quite ready for that yet. I'll get to that speed in probably future videos. For a first generation product, this is very, very impressive. It has an integrated app that works via Bluetooth that is pretty seamless. The motors are still strong after 300 miles. The bamboo deck is really nice. It's very springy. I'm sitting on it right now and I feel pretty comfortable, all things considered. And just the overall tech of it is very impressive. I mean, this thing can go like 7 miles on a single charge. The regenerative braking is pretty nice. It's definitely a must-have on a board like this because there's no way you're gonna slow yourself down fast enough with just dragging your foot. So those are really nice. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to modulate for me, but I think that's a user error thing. It's not necessarily the board's fault. My biggest concern with buying a boosted board by far was the bumps. So I live in the Midwest now, and roads and sidewalks are horrible. There's potholes, cracks, uneven surfaces all over the place. In fact, I bought a normal sort of cruiser board before I bought this just to make sure that it could get over the bumps. The cruiser board was not great on the bumps, but I was like, you know what, let's just go for it. Turns out the boosted board is way better, especially with the wheels that came on this. So the previous owner put on custom wheels that are a little bit nicer for bumps than the original wheels, which I still have. He sent the original wheels with it. But these wheels are great over bumps, and let me show you again. I think they look really cool too. Yeah. There are definitely some bumps that I slow way down for, that I just slow down to a crawl and kind of go boop, boop, because there's just some cracks that you don't want to hit at full speed because you'll just go flying. There are some sections of road in town that I do feel much more comfortable just stopping, getting off the board, carrying it across this pothole or whatever, then continuing on. But for the most part, it can handle the bumps just fine. The one thing I have noticed though is that when I'm riding over a lot of bumpy surfaces for a while and I get off the board, my whole legs tingle like they've fallen asleep or something like that. It's a pretty weird sensation. The biggest downside to the boosted board in my mind so far is the fact that it can't make sharp turns. Now, I am not an expert skateboard rider by any means, but I'm pretty sure this thing just isn't built to do any kind of 90-degree sharp turns. If you're going down a sidewalk and you need to turn right or left at a 90-degree angle, you're gonna have to pick it up and turn it manually. If you're on the road and you can kind of get out wide if there's not a lot of traffic and then sort of gradually hit the apex around the corner, then you can get around, but anything sharper than that, you're probably gonna end up having to stop, pick it up, and rotate it yourself. The board is very heavy, but I was kind of expecting that, and that's why one of the first things that I bought after buying the board was a bag that has backpack straps so that I can carry it around on my back and not wear out my one arm and having to switch around, and it's kind of an awkward size and weight to just carry by hand. Another thing that's taking some getting used to is that riding a boosted board makes you very self-conscious. The motors are pretty noisy, and when it goes over cracks, it makes a lot of sound, and people aren't necessarily used to seeing electric skateboards that often. They are getting much more popular now, but they're still kind of a novelty. So you do get a lot of stares, and you just have to accept that you're probably going to embarrass yourself at some point in front of a whole crowd of people, and you just got to accept it. The accelerator remote is actually really nice. It's very ergonomic, and the controls are super intuitive. I like that it has a little strap for your wrist, and it's very, very durable. I've dropped this thing on the pavement multiple times, and it's still working like it's brand new. The best way that I've found to carry this board without the bag is to just grab it by the trucks right here and then kind of throw it over your shoulder. Like that. That way you're not swinging it around and getting in people's ways and stuff like that, and it's a little bit easier on your arm muscles than trying to just hold it up like this. A few other quick thoughts on the board. I am very nervous about riding this in any kind of bad weather. One of the worst things I've done to myself so far on this board is I rode underneath a mulberry tree. And for any of you guys who know what a mulberry tree is, they have these really juicy berries that are actually very delicious, but they fall all over the place and they create sort of a carpet of just berry juice. And I rode right over that, and the wheels kicked up a ton of like just purple berry juice all over my pants, all over the bottom of the board, all over my shoes, and I had to spend about 15 minutes cleaning everything off so that it wouldn't stain, because mulberries will stain. So that is to say, I don't really want to ride this in the rain, because I can only imagine how much of the rain is going to get kicked up all over the place. Plus, I know that hard smooth wheels like this are basically like hard, slick tires, and you do not want to ride that in the rain. It'll be super slippery. Yes, I always wear a helmet when I'm riding. I'm not kidding about that. I literally always wear a helmet. I will not go out of the house with this board without my helmet. Highly recommend everybody else does that too. I've seen too many news stories of people on boosted boards getting head injuries, and I am not all about that. I do not want to have to deal with that. The person I bought this from also included a stand and 2 chargers and a bunch of extra belts. So the stand is really useful because I think it's just like a guitar stand, but it actually works perfectly for the boosted board. I just pop it on there, plug it in, and charges pretty quickly. I'm actually fairly impressed with how quickly this thing charges. Lastly, I surprised myself with how addicting this thing is. It's really, really fun to drive. I figured it would be fun to drive, but I didn't realize how much I would enjoy it and how addicting it would get. When I'm at work, when I'm going to bed, when I'm waking up in the morning, I'm thinking about boosted board. It's pretty crazy how much I just want to ride this thing all the time. I could have guessed that I would enjoy it a lot, but I didn't think I would catch the bug this quickly. So beware, if you buy a boosted board for yourself, it might be very addicting. I rode skateboards when I was a kid. I still like to rollerblade from time to time, but this is something different from that. You have that same sort of feeling of freedom and speed, but since it's electric, you don't get tired of it. You know, I don't know, it's hard to describe. Just beware that you might get addicted. I'm excited to make more videos with this board. Like I said, I'm gonna do a full review with hopefully better audio, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you hit like, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks.